Lovely. So I'm hoping all of you can see the first slide with the safeguarding workshop introductory slide. So thank you so much for all of you joining so promptly. I promise not to keep you too long, and we will absolutely cover as much as we possibly can, but I get there is a lot of information here on this slide. So we will go through bit by bit, but I'm also not going to dwell on things for too long, in the hope that obviously there will be some discussion and some questions at the end that we can cover. But obviously this is all important information that everyone does need to be aware of and can kind of take away for your own review and kind of looking back at what you have got in place internally as well. The aim of this session is to inform everyone about the role of welfare officer, to kind of empower and enhance kind of your confidence within the role, to make your mark on the role as well, and kind of go through any advice and recommendations within that role also, particularly ready for the affiliation period and requirements moving into the 23-24 season, as there are some updates, as you should all be aware. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are recording the session, so please, whilst we're delivering the content, if you could please keep yourself on mute and your cameras off, just so that the main content is on the screen, and we will absolutely open the floor up to any questions later on in the session. When we do come to the opportunity to ask any questions, if you want to ask anything that involves a scenario that is kind of bespoke and internal to you guys, please do not use anyone's names or anything that will identify the people referred to throughout that, just that obviously we can ensure that confidentiality throughout that question being asked. And the main thing from me is have maybe some kind of an action plan. What do you want to take away from the session today? What's important for you to get out of the session and take away into your roles? And we are absolutely here to support throughout that as time goes on. So please do utilise us at Middlesex FA. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you. We completely appreciate you are in your volunteer roles and appreciate the time and efforts that really do go into grassroots football, and it does not go unnoticed, and we know the time that goes into it. So we are extremely grateful for all your efforts as we go along. Kind of winding down now. I say winding down, it probably is just as busy getting ready for affiliation. So like I say, the purpose of this roadshow and the affiliation roadshow and all the sessions that we have available to all club officials is to support everyone throughout the processes that are coming up, and in those particular topic areas for each staff member that is within Middlesex FA as well. So first of all, just to introduce you to the safeguarding team, there have been a few changes over the course of kind of last season, with the change to our safeguarding board champion. Our previous board champion, Mike Healy, stepped down in December and was replaced with John Davis as our interim, whilst we are recruiting at the moment, ready for the new season. We do have our senior safeguarding lead, as many of you know, Kaylee Saunders, who is our chief exec, and we also have our deputy senior safeguarding lead, who is Daniel, who is very lovely and kindly on the call. Don't know if you want to say anything, Daniel?
Yeah, just a thank you for everyone coming on the call tonight. Hopefully it'll be very informative for you all in your respective roles. Just a little bit in terms of my involvement in the safeguarding team. So as it says on the screen, deputy senior safeguarding lead. So take a big role, part of the safeguarding team who meets every Monday afternoon, and also once a month with the safeguarding board champion, and working within the football services team and leading up that department. Obviously have a big steer in terms of new processes and procedures for safeguarding across the county. So if you ever need anything from myself or Becca, then obviously don't hesitate to get in touch.
Absolutely, thanks Dan. And then we also have Daniel Perkins, who some of you may know, who is our Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Officer at Middlesex FA, and he acts as our Deputy Safeguarding Officer. So in my absence, whether it's for leave or meetings, etc., there is always someone here, if not multiple staff members, who are able to assist in the absence of each other. And we do also have our safeguarding administrator, Gemma Webster, who is based at West Riding FA. So she is the person that leads on our compliance. So they will be the main point of contact in terms of the emails that go out, in terms of renewing for DBSs, qualifications, etc. So that is where that mainly does come from. And Gemma heads up the team there in terms of that compliance programme. Just to put on your radar. And we do also have for your kind of review as well and look over, if anyone does have a phone on them, there is a QR code there, but we have created a safeguarding contact list. I will absolutely circulate the PDF version of this out as well for your access as well. But essentially this reiterates kind of the safeguarding team and the members within that, but also local children's services, adult services, and also LADOs for your particular areas that you're working within. So that is just an easy access guide for you to be able to jump on. Hopefully, if you ever need anything like that, we are here to support throughout that process anyway, and talk you through kind of whom you may need to contact in certain situations or scenarios. But just for your own reference, they are all there in one place for your access. And like I say, I will absolutely be circulating that round in due course within the newsletter for your access as well. So just to touch on, I'm not going to go through each point, this will be sent round. And again, I'm sure many of you on the call that have been in the role maybe for quite some time, and those that are new to the role, this is something that I'm sure it goes beyond even what's on the screen. If I'm totally honest with you, I just wanted to try and capture some of the main roles and responsibilities within that welfare officer remit, if you like. The main thing from my kind of recommendation advice is to ensure that the details of your club's welfare officer is on your club's website for access for everyone at all points, and also circulated with all parents and guardians upon their registration at the beginning of each season. I'm sure a lot of people use WhatsApp groups, for example, in terms of their communication to everyone. So whether that's just pinning the contact details on those chats, for example, just to make sure that that is accessible, because that has come to light on a couple of occasions with scenarios and cases that we've dealt with this season in terms of parents or guardians, for example, or external LADOs, for example, may not have kind of the access to the required information so kind of promptly and quickly that we would hope for. So just putting that on your radar while we've kind of got a little bit of downtime in the off season before next season begins, just to review that information on the website, just to make sure that you are happy with everything on there. Again, we are more than happy to support with that content, so please do reach out, and I can absolutely kind of take you through that. Yeah, essentially that the main thing is everyone knows how to get hold of you. If you have more than 8 teams, we do kind of recommend and advise that the club do have more than one welfare officer and those assistants in place. If you're going into the new season, I know obviously we'll be going through affiliation anyway, so this should update. But if there are any replacements or additions, etc., as we go along kind of into the new season and throughout, please do keep me updated on that, just so I'm not contacting and I am contacting the right people. Again, there's been a couple of cases, things do change sometimes quite quickly, but I just wanted to make you aware that if we can be made aware of any changes as the season goes on, that would be massively helpful, just so that we can make sure we're getting the responses and access to everyone that we need to. And a final point from me on this is really keen and really important for you to know who your league welfare officer is, in terms of that league that you're affiliated with as a club. So if you aren't aware of who they are, and this hasn't been made kind of known to you, please do let me know and I can absolutely send that information across. They are a great support for you as well as the season goes on. So please do let me know if you have any issues in terms of accessing that. So in terms of the safeguarding requirements for the new season, as this has been circulated on a couple of occasions now in email communications, and I will continue to do so just so it is at the forefront of kind of the work that you guys will be doing looking at affiliation for the new season. I just wanted to kind of put up a reminder of the mandatory requirements for clubs with youth teams to begin with. So obviously those key officials there and the kind of necessary requirements and checks and qualifications that need to be in place ready for affiliation. The major kind of change for the new season is that all managers now and coaches of youth teams are now required to complete the Safeguarding Children's course, and to ensure this qualification remains in date by doing the recertification course. And the FA have recognised that obviously that does come with a big cost to meet that new requirement. So they have given all clubs and officials a 50% discount code that will be valid throughout May, June and July. Now, I know I have had a couple of questions from you guys around kind of the correspondence and communication with that discount code. If you aren't aware that your club has received that discount code, please do let me know and I can send that across to you directly. From our kind of knowledge and what we've been made aware of, that should have been sent to kind of the key club officials directly so that you're aware of kind of the access of that. It should have been sent to those officials that this affects essentially. So those that are yet to kind of complete that and require it in order to be affiliated, they will be sent that communication directly as well. So please do let me know if to your knowledge at the moment you haven't received that, and I will absolutely get that sent across to you so that you guys can get that sorted as soon as possible, and we can take you through that process as well. In terms of open age football, again, the big change for this season is that all affiliated clubs with open age teams are required to have a named club welfare officer in order to proceed with affiliation. And at that moment, just like it says there, it is just a named club welfare officer. I'm not going to read it word for word, but essentially affiliations will not be approved without that role being fulfilled, essentially. And this applies to all open age teams, regardless of whether there are any players aged 16 or 17 years old within the teams. At this moment in time for this season, that does not require completion of an FA DBS check or additional safeguarding qualifications. That will come into effect as of next season, where those particular roles will need to complete the DBS check and also the new player welfare course, which will be launching soon. We will keep you updated as soon as we are made aware of any updates to that and any kind of dates being made aware to us of when that will be launching. We haven't been made aware of that at the moment. We have been told it should be kind of end of summer, but of course we will keep you updated in all comms just around that and what it's looking like for that session. And then just the final note then on adult football ready for the new season. In order to proceed with affiliation, all adult disability clubs will be required to have that named club welfare officer role as well, with an in-date safeguarding adults course. But again, any issues in terms of accessing those kind of qualifications, ready to kind of proceed with those, please do let me know, and we can kind of take you through that as we go along. I just wanted to touch on kind of the investigations and reporting concerns process. I'm not going to kind of stick with the discipline side of things for too much, as there is a separate session for that as part of the roadshow. So please do sign up to that session if the discipline process is something that you are quite keen to kind of go through with the relevant members of the team, and they will absolutely take you through step by step and be circulating that as well. So even if you can't attend that session, please do make sure that you review that content, and it will be a massive help moving into the new season, as I know there have been a lot of questions as we've gone throughout. Essentially, we have the FA's whistleblowing policy, and one main bit of feedback from our safeguarding visits is that some parents and officials aren't so up to date or have had sight of this. So it's a big ask from me, and we will be doing a lot of work kind of from our point of view and pushing this out to everyone, is just essentially again circulating this out, having it on your website, having it accessible on WhatsApp groups, for example, to those that are affiliated with your club so that they can access this at any point. That is just probably one of the main bits of kind of feedback I've taken from the club safeguarding visits, which we'll touch on later on as a learning. So please do be circulating that. We also have now our Middlesex FA reporting form. So as well as kind of coming into me directly or the safeguarding inbox directly, we now do have the reporting form, which can be attached to different documentation that you wish to circulate around. We have access to the responses to that. I check it on a daily basis. And again, the QR code is there for your access if you wish to take kind of have a little look at it now. But again, I will be circulating this as a big kind of pack of resources for your review, and if you wish to implement that from a club level as well. So moving into the new season, as I'm sure you are aware, we have had the silent support weekend campaigns on the previous season. There's been a couple of those, and I know other clubs have added additional ones as the season's gone through. Again, the feedback to these, as you can see on the screen, has been really impactful and quite powerful as well, I think, in terms of kind of the direct feedback from players. And I would urge you guys, if you haven't kind of taken part in an initiative such as this so far, that is absolutely going to be something at the forefront of the work that we're doing in terms of Respect Weekend initiatives, in terms of that positive encouragement, and that will be the kind of the big focus. Again, being touched on in the discipline workshop, but a big issue for us this season has been the absolute increase in terms of kind of spectator and official abuse, pretty much. We know it's something that's quite difficult to manage from a spectator point of view, with them not being participants within the game, but there is a lot of work that clubs can do to try their absolute best to prevent this from taking place. And this is something in terms of the work that we will be doing to continue pushing that on, and working with all necessary parties just to try and work with you guys as our club officials, players as well. What can we be doing to try and support that process? What can we be doing throughout that whole proceeding, essentially into the new season, and the initiatives that we can be taking on board to really push that forward. And as part of that, we have just had, as of yesterday, the confirmation of the Play Safe weekend. So for this year and into next season, this will be taking place on the 30th of September to the 1st of October, so across that weekend. And for those of you that aren't aware, Play Safe is essentially the FA's national campaign to focus attention on the vital importance of safeguarding in our national game. And again, we are aware there have been previous massive efforts in terms of the activities that have been taking place across that weekend last year. Of course, there were a few changes to the weekend in terms of dates and having to reschedule, but we are massively thankful for the efforts that did go into arranging those events and those activities across that weekend. And we will be absolutely circulating as soon as we've got hold of any images, any videos, any kind of media that we can be circulating with you to absolutely kind of be promoting that. And it might be a chance as well in this kind of summer period to really be having a think about maybe what you would like to do as a club across that weekend, particularly as we're quite keen to get down to as many initiatives and activations as possible. So please do keep us up to date on some of the plans that you are thinking about moving into the new season, as I know that weekend does come around pretty quickly as the season starts. So we did urge and want to get that date out as soon as possible in terms of that being confirmed. Again, that campaign is supported by NSPCC as well as kind of those partnerships on the screen there with the Premier League, EFL, Women's Super League and Barclays Women's Championship as well, and is backed by every other level of the game across England. So it is a really powerful event for us to really be shouting about the work that you guys are really amazing work that you are doing from the ground level as well. Codes of conduct. Again, I think this is a massive tool for clubs to be utilising, particularly if there is any poor practice or breaches of these codes of conduct. A big chunk of the work that I've seen come through for this season in terms of cases and poor practice cases absolutely can take kind of note from the codes of conduct and where breaches have happened. It's just important that you guys have got a process in place to follow up on this. So, for example, any kind of disciplinary proceedings that you've got in place as a club, utilise your code of conduct. If that is breached, what steps can you be putting in place to kind of address those? What warnings can you be putting into place? And this is something that we kind of work with. If we get any poor practice cases and low-level concerns come through to us, we will always make reference to the codes of conduct, as that is what is signed at the beginning of each season. And I can't stress enough how important it is for your spectators and parents and carers of players that register for you each season to actually have that document in front of them, and that's signed and sent back to you as well, because that will really assist you if anything were to happen across the season involving them. That is your tool, if you like, and your kind of reporting function that you can fall back on should you need to. Hopefully you don't need to, but should you need to, there is that written piece of documentation that they have agreed to as for the season long, and if they are in breach of that, you can absolutely refer back to that, and any club management decisions, you can involve that as well. And just to follow on from this as well, I just wanted to kind of make reference to those more poor practice and low level concerns that we see coming through, and potentially how you can be dealing with those. When kind of certain scenarios and cases come through to us, we have to review that information and kind of decipher what is kind of a low level concern, which would be essentially dealt with from a club level, and kind of those more complex poor practice and low level concerns to be referred up to us, and we can of course support you throughout those proceedings, and take you through that. It's not a problem at all. That's what we are here for at the end of the day. We'd rather you come to us, and a lot of the time with our low level concerns as well, we do absolutely monitor and log for monitoring purposes anything that comes through to us, so that if there tends to be a certain trend that comes through, there's pieces of work that we can be doing to kind of address those trends and patterns that are coming through each season, and potentially the same thing as well with the more serious cases that come through to us, where we do get the FA case management team involved as well. And just to reiterate there, where there is a case, and I'm sure you all are aware of this, which we will go through as well, in any case where there is a child in immediate danger, of course you would then take your own process to escalate to the police or children's services, NSPCC, etc. Again, there's many examples that we could go on here for kind of those more low level concerns, and this is kind of the main thing that we would deal with on a weekly basis, unfortunately. But just remember those 5 R's of safeguarding, which we'll touch on very shortly as well. They will really kind of assist you and support you throughout that process. But again, any questions or queries on any processes, please don't hesitate to get in touch as we go along as well. And I just wanted to put up here and how kind of reiterate how important it is that each club does have kind of a complaints investigation process. This is one that we have kind of put together and followed and gone by. Feel free, absolutely, you guys can utilise this, but it's so important that you guys have got your own complaints procedure. Again, we see quite a few cases come through to us that have escalated from kind of being dealt with from a club level, and then most of the time it's parents and carers that come through to us in terms of trying to escalate something. And as long as you guys have followed your complaint and investigation process and followed the policies and procedures, then we will support you in any kind of decision that is made. Club management decisions are under the jurisdiction of the club at the end of the day, and we are there to support. As long as you have followed those processes and regulations that are in place, we will of course support that as time goes on. But of course we will review everything that comes in and work with you to try and resolve that as best as we possibly can. But I just wanted to put this on your radar for moving forward as well. Again, you guys know all of this. I'm not going to read it through step by step, but it's just to make it clear that you guys as a club have absolutely got the necessary steps in place for moving forwards as well. And to kind of reiterate this and to support you, we have created from a county level a safeguarding pocket guide. Now I've created this which has actually been kind of printed out onto our lanyards for a pocket guide for our staff for those kind of Middlesex FA led events, so that our staff are best equipped to kind of respond and react and be supported throughout any occasions and scenarios that they may deal with. And this is something that potentially you guys can look at, but I will circulate the PDF document for this guide so that if you wish to circulate with your officials, please do so. Again, it's got the QR codes there for the reporting form and also the contact sheet. So again, if someone isn't able to get hold of yourselves or want to get through to one of our team, but again, can't come through to my line, for example, if I'm away, there is plenty of other contact options there for people to get hold of and signposting as well. So we will absolutely get this across to you as that tool that can be used. And again, putting on WhatsApp groups, going through any training that you do with your coaches at the beginning of a season. If you do any kind of briefings or inductions with your coaches at the beginning of a season, please feel free to make reference to it and utilise it as best as you can. We don't want you guys to have to be putting in kind of the extra work and efforts to be creating these resources. So where we can absolutely support you in kind of circulating that, please adopt as you please, essentially. And just to touch base kind of on a local authority designated officer as well. Now, for each of the local authority areas in that safeguarding contact list, I have put kind of the majority of the time, more recently, particular contacts and kind of the direct contacts or the direct LADO for each local authority isn't so much noted anymore. It's more done and completed through referral forms and kind of generic email addresses. So sometimes, again, even from a county level, we have some really good relationships with some of the LADOs within Middlesex, but not all, as sometimes it can change quite a lot in terms of who is the on-duty LADO for that day, for example, or who the off-duty LADO is. But there is always someone there to pick up the phone or pick up the referral that is made. Again, if a case gets to this point, please do be informing us before you make this step. A lot of the time, if you bring something to our attention, we can do that referral either with you or for you, as we also would be kind of making the FA safeguarding team aware of this as well, for their alert, ready for their review of any cases that do come through. So just again wanted to put this on your radar, that obviously we do work really closely with the network of LADOs across Middlesex, and again, different cases can kind of flag up to us in different ways. It might come through from a police officer, it might come through from the FA safeguarding team, it might come through from you guys, it might come through from a LADO. So again, we are a whole network that all work together to do our best to absolutely be promoting the welfare and the safety of children within grassroots football, affiliated football. So anything that you feel that gets to this point, please do involve us, and we are there to support throughout that process as well. And just to further support with this, there is a policies and procedures checklist, and I will come on to this a bit later on, but there is a directory of guidance that the FA have put together that everyone has access to, and I can't stress how important it is that you've got that on your radar. I have it bookmarked, and I would suggest that most people would do the same, as I'm referring to it a lot of the time. If you're kind of speaking with a parent or carer, it's a great document that you can refer back to in terms of the guidance that is there, for example, so you have got those official documentation that you can make people aware of and refer back to at all times as well. But it's just to showcase that, of course, you can go through this checklist, and if you can either say things are in place or working towards and in progress, and you need some further support with those, please don't hesitate to get in touch again, and we can work with you on those documentation, with that on that documentation, and get you to a place where everything is in place for the new season. As I'm sure most clubs do already have this in place as part of a lot of the work that is done throughout the season and throughout the years. So just to put this on your radar, it is a really helpful and useful tool just to, again, getting ready for the new season and looking back on this to ensure that you've got everything that you need to in place. I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through the recruitment process and DBS queries, as Probably majority of the queries that I get through are DBS related, which is not a problem at all. It is actually a really, really positive and good thing that people are reaching out to try and kind of sort any DBSs that they're trying to get through. Also not great from a system point of view if there are any issues and glitches in the system. These things do happen, but again, we are here to support with that. Again, majority of the time it's a really seamless process, but I just wanted to touch on where there may be some barriers or some challenges faced in terms of things getting pushed through. Just for your reference, it's not always a system issue. It can be sometimes user issue, or it can be sometimes the case that there needs to be a DBS check that needs to be reviewed by First Advantage or the FA, and I will touch on this as we go through. I've just popped on there the roles that do require a DBS check, just for your own kind of reference and your knowledge. All DBSs will now need to be initiated through Club Portal, which again, I will send guidance through on that. The functionality through whole game has now been removed to be able to do that, and everything is now being kind of funneled through Club Portal. It is a really, really user-friendly platform for all compliance, keeping everything in one place. So I can't stress enough how much easier that platform should be to use and to take you through kind of step by step. But I will be circulating the information of kind of going through that initiation process for a DBS and getting an official added as a DBS applicant on there. Sometimes it might not let you add them, and that's because potentially if there's duplicate fans for an individual, if you're entering kind of different information to what is on either fan, please do let us know. Just reach out and let us know, and we can take a look on the system for you, and we can get those fans merged for that, and then we can kind of take you through that process. Applying for a DBS check as a welfare officer, please do come directly to us, and that is to be completed through the Middlesex FA pin, and then verified through one of our county FA verifiers. So we will always ask you where you are based and where your location is, and we will review that against our list of county FA verifiers, and then signpost you accordingly to the most local one that there is, so that we can get that done as easily as possible for all parties, and get that through the process. What I will say on this, in terms of the verification of DBS documents from a club level, this is to be completed face-to-face. I know sometimes this can be a challenge in terms of organising dates if you're missing dates of different training, etc., but that is to be completed face-to-face, and applications need to be completed by the individual that is applying for the DBS and not a club official. You would be amazed this does happen. And then it does get flagged up, because a lot of the time when that does happen, it gets sent back because there's an error on the application. So the application then gets paused and returned back to the applicant for any details to be amended. So a lot of the time, if that does happen, it's not always a quick process to go through, because again, if someone else is doing someone else's application, they're not going to have the full information for that individual, and it will always get flagged up. If a DBS is showing as complete on First Advantage, this doesn't mean it's always accepted or clear. So what we have happen on quite a lot of occasions is it's showing as complete on the First Advantage portal, but on your end, on Club Portal, for example, it's still saying application in progress. 95% of the time, this is due to the fact that there is content on that individual's DBS. So what will happen in that instance is the individual directly will be contacted by First Advantage, and they are then required to send their original certificate off to them for their review. Now, once they do receive that certificate, they do review them pretty promptly. They are usually reviewed within 48 hours. And this is reviewed against a set of criteria to essentially identify if there is a transferable risk from a previous conviction or offence to working with children or young people or vulnerable adults within affiliated football. If the conviction or offence on that DBS is deemed as potentially being a risk, it will then be escalated to the FA safeguarding team for their approval, and they will contact the individual directly as well as that's going through that process. So just for you to be aware, this needs to happen quite quickly. First Advantage will contact the individual on 3 occasions via email and 1 time via post. Now, if First Advantage either don't receive a response or an acknowledgement or the certificate within a certain time frame, they will issue a non-compliant suspension. And the only way that that can be lifted is if the original certificate is sent to them within a particular time period. Now, if the time period does lapse, usually past 6 months, the individual is then required to complete a new application due to the time that has lapsed since the previous one has been completed. So I just wanted to put that on your radar. And again, this is written up in a process that I will be circulating round, as this is quite a common query that does come, and it's just to put that responsibility as well on the individual that's making the application. First Advantage will only talk to the individual that that application is for. They won't talk to any other club official, and majority of the time they won't even talk to us at County FA, due to confidentiality reasons. That has to come from the individual that the application is in relation to. So I hope that makes sense, but we can absolutely pick that up if needs be. And again, just to touch on non-compliant suspension. So if a non-compliant suspension is issued, again, all suspensions are on the system. So it is the responsibility of the club to be checking club portal at all times, ready for a weekend, for example, or each week on a Monday, for example, or ready for the weekend, just to check your compliance and suspensions. We will always email as well to make you aware if we've been notified of any suspensions in this scenario as well, just to put it on your radar to make sure that all bases are covered and you have been made aware of that. And like I say, in order to clear that suspension, that individual does need to work with the FA and First Advantage in terms of getting that DBS resolved and sorted. So to follow up on club safeguarding visits and the compliance piece there with the DBS checks, on the whole from last season's club visits, we were really impressed by the work that is being done. And the biggest thing for me is just to ensure that the system is as up to date with the officials that are kind of active, if you like, within the role. With those non-compliant suspensions, that does mean that they are suspended from coaching. So if they have been issued with a non-compliant suspension at any point, or any other suspension that's been made clear to you or the individual, they cannot be participating in that active role until that is resolved. And to be fair, from our visits, we had nobody that was kind of in an active role that had been suspended, which is really positive, to show that the club are doing what they should be doing. But the main kind of questions that we would be asking are those that are on the screen. And I think, like I said before, the main one there is the whistleblowing policy, and just circulating that with your kind of parents and guardians and officials as well, just so that they've got sight of that and are aware of the process and the reporting functions that are available to them if they need to kind of take advantage of that and access those at any point. Again, not going to dwell on this for too long. As part of the affiliation process, we will be coming out to clubs and asking for training schedules. So if we can be kind of preparing those and making sure they are sent across as soon as you've got sight of them, that would be hugely appreciated. As I'm sure you can imagine, we'd have to get round to as many teams and clubs as we possibly can across the season, and trying to logistically manage that, if we're not getting any responses from clubs around training schedules, can prove quite challenging. So we would hugely appreciate it if you could work with us on just compiling a training schedule. We are aware that things do change, and we will always reach out to you just to confirm kind of winter versus summer schedules, just to make sure that things are looking correct on what we've got logged on our end. So if I could please just put that on your radar now, just to be kind of thinking about it and putting something like a training schedule together ready for the new season, so that we can have sight of that as well. It would be massively appreciated just to aid with that, with that task. I know in the survey that some of you may have seen in preparation for the affiliation roadshow and the sessions that are happening, there is a question in there around kind of the work that clubs are doing at the moment in terms of promoting the voice of a child and youth forums within your own clubs. Again, very mixed feedback on that, which is really great to see some of the work that it's been doing, but completely appreciate that in terms of trying to set up a youth forum or a youth council within a club, it can be quite a daunting task. I have sent this youth leadership and volunteering toolkit round on a couple of occasions previously across last season, and I will continue to do so. And we will be doing some work kind of directly with clubs and circulating this round. I'm really going to be encouraging and promoting kind of this youth voice work across next season again. Is something that again has really given us some insight, and the feedback that we've got from young people across clubs and across Middlesex has been invaluable and taken back into the work that we're doing as well. Think it's just a massive piece of work that we completely appreciate. What you guys are doing is voluntary and you only have so much time in terms of what you're able to do, and completely appreciate that. And wherever we are able to support in setting that up, I think clubs can really be taking away a lot from hearing from their youth players across the season to really be forming kind of how your clubs look, because at the end of the day it's for them. This is what grassroots football is all about, is giving them the game that they love and giving them the opportunity to play the game that they love. And again, I think it's just taking on board some of the comments, again, not always feasible. Some of the feedback that we do get, particularly on club visits, it's brilliant to see the passion and the big ideas that people have, but we completely get that they're not always feasible. But whatever we can be doing, the little things that we can be doing to try and build that up as time goes along will really make such a significant difference to the clubs throughout a season and throughout the years to come as well. And just to put on your radar, some of the training and support platforms that everyone does have access to, like I mentioned earlier on, there is the complete directory on the FA's website, which again, the link will be within this document that I send around to you. But please do bookmark that. I can't stress enough how important it is that you've got kind of oversight and access to those, because I use them on probably most days, as I'm sure you guys will be as well. So please do kind of, whenever you get a chance, which I'm sure is absolutely very, very minimal in terms of the times that you guys have. So please just make note of that. It's got absolutely everything in there that you can possibly think of and come back to. And then on top of this, we also have our website, which is under review, ready for the new season as well, in terms of the information that is on there. We do have our kids zone. So again, please be directing your youth players to that kids zone as well, in terms of some of the information that they may find helpful and support to them. The newsletters that we circulate around each month as well. This will hopefully be a tool in terms of some of the content that is in there that can support you and your clubs for moving forwards. Our Teams channel is up and running. I do post as much in there as I possibly can and any opportunities. So again, if you aren't yet as part of that Teams channel and want to get on that in response to kind of either the upcoming newsletter, or feel free to drop me an email and I will absolutely get you added onto that and take you through the joining process for that. And as we come into the new season as well, we will be putting on more CPD events, and my aim is to finally get us all together in one place and do a face-to-face session. And I know that isn't always accessible for all, and I know Middlesex is a very large county, so we are reviewing kind of the best way of running this, but I do feel it is important and really beneficial for you all to be together, all network, all have the opportunity to share kind of your best practice, and also any scenarios that you've kind of had to deal with, and how we can obviously work together and support you all and moving that forwards, as you are everyone that are living and breathing the role. So what we can be doing to support everyone, we will absolutely try and do, and there will be plenty of online sessions. We also do have the welfare officer drop-in on a Thursday 12 till 1, so please do take advantage of that. I'm going to try and open up an evening option as well, as I know daytime isn't always accessible for all. So I will be circulating that as well once I've just figured out the best kind of day for that. But to be honest with you, if you ever need to go through anything, just let me know a suitable time for you, and I will always do my absolute best to be as flexible as possible. And if not, I will always lean on the safeguarding team as well to support us with that, and go through anything that you would like to discuss or query. And then just at the bottom there, I have made note to the grassroots technology team and the site that is there. This is essentially, you can submit any and raise any tickets in relation to kind of IT issues that you're finding on any platforms and FA platforms that you're using. So for example, Club Portal or Full Time, for example, they're just a couple of the platforms that have got kind of some FAQs on there around any issues that may arise, any processes that need to be followed. But a lot of the time I will refer club officials to that site, as there is some real useful information and FAQs on there for everyone to take sight of and to be aware of as well in terms of the work that you are doing. And then just as we come to the close of the presentation, again, just to reiterate kind of our contacts, we are a team. It does kind of spread across us all. And it is very much embedded across the county FA. So if anyone, please does need to get hold of anyone, please just try any of our lines. The safeguarding inbox is always manned, regardless of whether people are on leave, for example. Someone is always manning that. And we'll always come back to you at the earliest possible time. And I will always do my absolute best to come back to anyone that comes through to myself directly. So please, no question is too small or silly. I always say there's nothing ever as a silly question. So please do reach out. We are here to support you. If that's one thing you can take away from the session this evening, please do get in touch. If you need anything at all and any support with anything, I'm more than happy to come down to clubs and sit through anything you would like to go through, and get things in as a place that you would like them to be in for your club. So please utilise me. It's what I'm here for. And we can take you through anything that, to get you through to where you want to be.